Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, Dick, and if you enjoyed last week's Pokemon Red Recomp project video when Bryantthaboi and Boys Club Games brought over Pokemon Red from Game Boy to PC, then you're going to love this one even more. That is because Bryantthaboi has also brought over Pokemon Blue and is currently working on Pokemon Yellow. And honestly, this has been an amazing project since the moment I started covering it. Bryantthaboi sent me a message over on Discord to indicate he was working on this, and this new version with the new launcher and the new mod engine inside of it. I will be doing a secondary video on some of my favorite mods. Is absolutely wild, and this thing is going to be a project that is going to yield results and bear fruit probably for years to come, because I've never seen anything improve quite this quickly, quite this fast, and have so many new fun features for everyone to take a look at. So if you're a Pokemon fan and you like Red or Blue, as of yesterday, Blue is now incorporated into the launcher and you can play it on your PC, have a hell of a time with it, and mod it to your heart's content. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, got a Patreon link down below as well. But the top note here is going to be that Pokemon Blue is now included in these PC ports, or recomps, that's what the developer is calling them, on their GitHub, and that is going to be amazing. But there's a lot of other features that have been added since I previously talked about Pokemon Red that we're going to be going over as well. And I know a ton of people have been stoked about this one. I've gotten a lot of positive comments, people asking me when other features are going to be coming in the comments, and I know even the developer on this one popped in and answered some comments as well. So if you do have any questions for them, go ahead and leave them down below, because I'm pretty sure they're going to be watching this video, because I talked to them in advance when I was working on it, letting them know what time it's going to go out. So if you do have any questions for them, they can't promise that they're going to answer each and every one of them, but I'm sure you'll get some feedback here, because a lot of the questions I ask might not be the ones you ask. Now obviously the Pokemon Blue, Red, and Yellow are going to have a ton of overlap, so you kind of get to decide which version of the game you want to play, at least 2 out of 3 right now, and that's not bad. And when Yellow comes in, you're going to have basically the entirety of the Game Boy Blue, Yellow, and Red trilogy, or I guess they might not be a trilogy. You leave me a comment down below and tell me what you call them, available on PC. And the nice thing is, since the last time I talked about this, it got a very good launcher versus the original way you'd load it up. Right now you'll see here, you have a tab for Red and Blue. If you click Yellow, it's going to say coming soon. You have the ability to add in your completely legally owned Pokemon game. You can import saves, export saves, and there is going to be an entire mod engine as well. I'll show you a little bit of that later on in the video, and I will have a mod video later on this week as well, because I didn't want to bring this in at 20 minutes because there's a ton of fun to actually play around with here. But honestly, if you can drag and drop a single file, you're going to be going ahead and playing these games with a really easy setup process, and that definitely benefits everyone. And at least for me personally, I use an Xbox Series X on my PC that's plugged in to play games, and it hooked to that perfectly fine. I know it's got other controller support in there as well, but that's the controller I use, and I've had no issues with it. And that definitely is something I always look for, because I want to be able to just sit down and play a game and not think too much about the configuration. Because of course, I spend a lot of time running all these different ports and recomps, and I have a really good sense of what it is needed to get them running, if it can be difficult. But for the average viewer, I know you guys just want to sit down, double click a file, drag a file in, and then start playing something like Pokemon Blue on your PC. And this most recent version of the game that you can grab on GitHub, and the link in the description below, is going to do exactly that. Lower the barrier of entry to being able to enjoy something like this, to basically just having to drag that one file over. And you'll see here we do have a mod manager as well as an entire different recoloring menu, and you can even change the overall viewpoint of the game, which will become a lot more important in just a moment. But I really love the fact now that you can completely zoom out on the world map, kind of feeling like The Legend of Zelda DX, the other Game Boy Color game that was brought over to PC. It's really fun to see the entire world. Obviously when you're in an interior, you might want to zoom back in, but the minus and plus keys are going to be able to zoom you in or out, so you can kind of just keep your hand near to the keyboard, or maybe even assign some unused buttons on a controller to be able to do that, so you can kind of navigate around the world and decide what sort of view you want. Because it is really fun to see the entire map at once and to see your characters being absolutely tiny. Let's do the first of 2 soundtrack samples, because the audio quality, in my opinion at least, has improved since the first draft of this I took a look at. So go ahead and listen, I'll be right back. So it sounds like Pokemon Blue to me, but you leave me a comment down below and you let me know what you think. And just so you know, there is that link in the description below to both the GitHub repo as well as Bryantthaboi's YouTube channel, where he talks about some of the developments on this, going into more detail than I usually use, just introducing you guys to the concept. And there is an entire mod page here as well. And like I said, the next video is going to be more on mods. I'm kind of keeping that maybe until later on this week, but you can do some absolutely amazing stuff. Like, did you know that you can now play Pokemon Blue and Red in a full voxel presentation, being able to move the camera around, give it different textures and screen spaces, and kind of make the game do whatever it is you want. And seeing something like Pokemon from the Game Boy in a voxel engine here within the actual launcher that has really easy ability to mod the game, which I'll show you in the next video, you can kind of just do whatever it is you want to this one. And again, this has only been a project that's been around for like 3 weeks at this point in time. Think about where it's going to be in 3 months and maybe even 3 years. I'm sure it'll still have a very interesting lifespan going on for it. And that really is the thing. Of the first video, there were some comments saying, why does this really matter? There's other ways to play the Pokemon Game Boy games on PC. What could be brought into this project that would kind of expand upon what was done before? And I think you can obviously tell from what you've seen in this video so far, and I'll be showing you even more in the next modification video, that this can do a metric crap ton more than any sort of Game Boy emulation out there. And don't get me wrong, you know full well I love emulation. I'm always talking about it on the channel and its improvements, but these projects bringing these games over to PC and giving it an entire mod engine are just going to end up providing basically limitless opportunities for people to go in and make whatever they want in the game. And like I said, I'll show you a lot more of that voxel project maybe later on this week, because really I just wanted to focus on what Bryantthaboi has done here in bringing this project and community together, because it's one thing to make something, you bring a game over to PC, that is in and of itself a massive accomplishment, but actually getting an entire community to rally around that and start doing fun things with the project, that is something you don't always see happening, and that really is the celebratory moment here. So much so that I was thinking I'd run this as an 8 PM bonus video like I did the initial video, because I always say that Game Boy mods and PC ports don't do all that well, at least for me on the channel, but that video was so well received that I figured, and I told Bryantthaboi I'd give him the 4 PM slot and move something else into the 8 PM slot just to kind of play around with things, because this is definitely making me very excited to see what the future is, and I know a lot of you are excited as well. Well, leave me a comment down below and you tell me, have you tried the Pokemon Red PC port yet? Are you going to try the blue one, or are you waiting for yellow? And do you prefer kind of the original look? Do you prefer some of the colorization here that we played around with? Or maybe even the voxels, which I'll talk about later on this week. But honestly, the overall toolbox and box of toys that you can play around with on this port is absolutely outstanding, and that really is the #1 takeaway. Sure, playing Pokemon Red and Blue on PC is a fun time, but yes, you're right, we have other ways to do it. But now with all the insane bonus features and other modifications you can do with this thing, it blows everything else out of the water in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, everything else out there is incredible as well. But one more soundtrack sample just so you can get one more taste of the audio in the game. I'll come back, show you a bit more, and explain where I hope this project goes next, because it still has some room to grow. So yeah, sounds like Pokemon to me again, and that is a nice thing, but if I had my druthers, I might actually mod in some of the other Pokemon music from different games, just to kind of get a little bit away from that chiptune every once in a while, because it's not like I don't love it, but it's one of those things. I actually replace the tracks in these videos with Pokemon music from other later generation hardware, because I really find that the chiptune, beep boop bop, and yes, those are the 3 tones I think it can make, at least in my imagination, can kind of be a little bit interfering underneath voiceover. You can tell me if that's not the case down below, but it's just something that always trips my ear up. But the only other thing I would love to see come to something like this project is just more of it. That really is the thing, playing around with it, seeing all the different mods that currently exist. I just want more. I want this thing to live a long life, become an entire ecosystem for what Pokemon can be on Game Boy. And honestly, I want to start seeing things like this for Game Boy Advance games as well. This is really proving that one person with a really good idea can go out there, build up a community, and kind of have fun with it. When I was talking to Bryantthaboi in the background, he said he was stoked that I made a video on the initial one, and honestly, I always always have room on this channel to showcase some really fun projects because I want each and every person that makes them to succeed, and I will say this has been an absolute success for the developer. Did an amazing job, and I can't wait to see what comes next. Short of that, we're done. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, but I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.